SCP-079, widely known as Computer, is one of the playable SCP characters in SCP Secret Laboratory. That's a lot of SCP. Now, in both the lore and in general, SCP-079 is seen as a really interesting and very fun, unique SCP. It's a computer with the ability to take control of everything, because it's a very sentient computer. Its goal is to destroy the world, and in SCP Secret Laboratory, it accomplishes that goal pretty well, I would say. A lot of people have the misconception that the computer is extremely weak, useless, and no one likes him. Whenever I play a game of SCP, the person who gets computer always complains and cries about it. And honestly, I don't blame him. Lots of people who become computer don't see him to the fullest potential and just see him as a guy who can open and close doors, which is why people don't like him. So in this video, I'm here to explain why the computer is by far the most overpowered SCP in the game. Reason number one is that he has the ability to control every single door. Now, when you hear this at first, it's probably just like, okay, he can control doors. Why should I care? The ability to control doors is by far the most powerful thing in the entire game. The whole point of SCP Secret Laboratory is to escape through a maze. And in that maze, every 10 steps is a door that you have to open. 079 has the ability to control every single door in the entire game completely, from closing them to locking them to even blacking them out. So the amount of stalling that you can do as the computer just because you can open and close doors is completely broken. You can stop a single horde of MTF or a couple of D-class from getting to where they want to for like 5 minutes if you know what you're doing. And that's more than enough time for SCPs to get there and kill everyone for you. So don't think controlling doors is weak and stupid, it's surprisingly overpowered. Another thing that computer can do is black out a specific hallway that locks every single door and makes all the lights go dark. And just like before, blacking out a room is not that big of a deal. Sure, it stalls for more time, but why would I want to turn off the lights? Who cares? And this is where it brings us to one of the most important parts about playing as computer, the combo power with SCP-173. Peanut's biggest weakness is that he cannot move when people look at him. So with the power of computer's blackout ability, you can have an entire horde of MTF in a single room, black out all the lights, and have Peanut completely obliterate every single one of them. And there's nothing they can do about it. Another combo between Computer and Peanut is the fact that in order for people to open doors, they have to look at them. That's pretty basic. However, if Peanut is behind someone and you lock the doors someone's trying to open, they turn around trying to open a door and Peanut snaps their neck and there's nothing they can do about it. As long as you're focused and you work as a team with Peanut, there's basically nothing the humans can do in order to win the game, because the synergy between Peanut and Computer is very overpowered. Another reason is that Computer knows the entire map. And again, at first that doesn't seem like a big deal, but SCP Secret Laboratory is a game based around a maze. The whole point of the game is that you're in a maze and you're trying to escape. Computer completely bypasses that by having the entire map to the entire game of every single level. It's almost like playing the Maze Runner and someone just has a map of the entire place. Like, what's the point of even, what's the point? There's no challenge anymore because you know the map of the maze. Because he can tell SCPs where to go and how to get there, and this increases the overall speed and consistency of how fast SCPs can kill people and get to certain locations. Computer can instantly lead people to 914 and light containment, or instantly lead people to checkpoint and gate B and so on. As long as Computer's working as a team, the ability to see the entire map is extremely strong in a game that's focused around, well, a maze. Also, Computer's mobility is completely unmatched. There's not a single SCP faster than Computer. Now, I know this is kind of a joke, so we looked at the map, we created a little racetrack, and we saw who's the fastest SCP. And I'm pretty sure I won in about, I would say, 1 second, and everyone else took a pretty long time to get there. So there's no SCP faster than 079. And he can also transfer to heavy, entrance, and surface instantaneously without having to wait for an elevator, which makes him by far the fastest SCP in the game, and in general the fastest thing that is in the game. Did you know that the Computer is technically unkillable? He is the only SCP in the game that you cannot kill with bullets and grenades. Every other SCP, Shy Guy, Larry, Plague Doctor, Dog, Peanut, in order to defeat them, you have to shoot them or grenade them. That is how you beat, or Tesla gate them or something. That is how you beat them. That is the only way to beat them. Meanwhile, Computer, You cannot shoot computer. You cannot grenade computer. There's nothing you can do to kill computer. Was that another? There's not a single thing you can do to beat computer other than deal with the generators. And in general, no one really focuses on the generators in the game. People rarely care or give a shit about them. So in general, because people don't really care about the generators, you really are the most unkillable SCP in the game. And even if people do activate your generators, the computer instantly knows where the generator was activated and can just send a SCP to turn it off for him. So it's extremely hard, if not impossible, to kill 079 unless you, like, I don't know, turn on the nuke, and that's really it. I did have a single question when I was making this video, and it was, does he get affected by flashes, grenades, and invisibility, such as the 268, the hat? So we tested all these out. We first started with the flash and then the grenade. The flash does not affect him at all. He can see clearly, he doesn't get frozen for a second, there's absolutely nothing that you can do to flash the computer. Now, any SCP that gets hit by a grenade instantly gets the grenade blur effect. I don't know what to call it, but it's when your vision gets all red and stuff, and fuzzy. The computer, when hit by a grenade, or when the camera gets hit by a grenade, does not have any form of effect whatsoever, proving that the computer is not affected by flashes or grenades, which makes him the most immune SCP in the game as well. However, grenades do affect the computer because obviously grenades blow up doors, and that's a big deal. The computer's entire thing is that he can open and close doors. When someone uses a grenade on a door, boom, all of a sudden the computer becomes like 10% less useful because of the door. So technically, he's immune to grenades, question mark? Another thing I wanted to test is that if computer can see invisible people, because I've always thought he could. And I tested this by having one of my lab rats here run around with the hat on and hide inside of this specific corner. My SCPs had no idea where he was until I told them where he was hiding. And even then, they couldn't even find him because look at the Larry. The Larry tried to attack and they didn't know where he was still. So computer is the only SCP in the game that can see people's invisibility. Now before you attack me, 939 can't see people who use invisibility. You're right. But technically, as long as someone walks holding C, he can't see anything. So that doesn't count. And in order for 96 to be seeing invisible people, they have to have looked at 96's face. So technically, computer is the only one in the entire game that can see invisible people without some form of special little situation needs to happen. He can just see everyone who's invisible no matter what the situation is. Did you know that you can get power points by other people killing other people? It doesn't have to be by SCPs. Chaos comes in and kills an MTF, or if MTF comes in and kills a Chaos, blah 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 blah, etc etc. If humans kill humans and you are there and you open and close locked doors, you get points for that. So you don't even need to work with your team all the time in order to get points in order to win the game. So if you have a team that isn't listening to you, that doesn't care about you, you can still gain enough power to do some really impressive things by just bullying humans and following them around. So when a Chaos Squad spawns, make sure you're there to make sure they kill the MTF, because you get so many free points just for being there. And lastly, the most important reason why I would say computer is the most overpowered SCP in the game is because he's the only SCP with the ability to team kill. That's right. And you get points from killing your own team. There's not a single SCP that could do damage to another one of their own SCPs. Sure, zombies can close doors on plague doctors, but there's no SCP that can physically do damage to another. Computer is the only one that can, with the special ability called the Tesla Gate. With the Tesla Gate, you can kill any SCP you want just for fun. Now, I don't recommend this because every single server says you're not allowed to do this. You should never do this in a game. Please don't quote me on this video when you get banned from some servers. But it is a fact. You can kill your own team. And if you're gonna do it, I recommend killing 096. All he does is break your damn doors, and sometimes you just want to kill him with a Tesla Gate, you know? Sometimes you just want to see his body crying on the floor, whimpering away as you can laugh at his stupid, skinny, ribbed cage of stupidity. So yeah, and that's every reason why computer is overpowered. And there is a couple things that I probably missed, such as that you can use the intercom speaker to tell people what to do and all that good stuff. But in general, these are the biggest things that I've known about computer that a lot of people brush to the side and don't really understand until they play computer enough and master it for themselves. If you want to learn how to master a computer, I recommend. No, I'm kidding. I'm not gonna do that. I'm kidding. I'm too small of a channel to do that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I wanted to make this video because a lot of people hate the computer in the game and they just despise him. So maybe this video will make people think, huh, you know what? Maybe he's not so bad after all. Maybe I'll start playing him more and won't disconnect instantly when I get him. Again, thank you so much for watching, and remember that this isn't a completely serious video. Please don't destroy me like the last time I made a video about an SCP. Don't get me wrong, do whatever you guys want, but calm down, okay? Seriously, chill. It's a game. You guys gotta chill. I can't handle that amount of dislikes again. Stop it. No more.